All right, today we are jumping headfirst into Cosmos. Now, this is a project with a massive goal to build an entire internet of blockchains. But here's the thing, is its brilliant decentralized vision actually being held back by a fundamental dilemma? Let's get into it. So everything starts with this one question. Seriously, this is the whole reason Cosmos even exists. It's trying to solve one of the biggest headaches in crypto, the fact that most blockchains are basically their own little isolated islands. They can't easily talk, they can't share value. Cosmos wants to be the bridge that connects them all. You'll hear Cosmos call itself Blockchain 3.0. And look, this isn't just some marketing fluff about being a little bit faster or a little bit cheaper. No, this is about a completely different way of building things. It's a fundamental architectural shift away from those siloed networks of the past and toward a truly connected internet of blockchains. So, what's the big idea here? What does this dream of interoperability actually look like in practice? Well, let's start with the problem that Cosmos was specifically designed to fix. Think about the early days with chains like Ethereum, right? They were monolithic. Everything, consensus, networking, all the applications was crammed into one single layer. That meant every single app, whether it was a simple game or a super complex DeFi protocol, was fighting for the exact same very limited resources. And you know what that leads to, right? Insane congestion and fees that go through the roof. Cosmos's big idea was to just unbundle all that. Let developers create their own specialized, high-performance networks that don't have to compete with each other. Okay, so how in the world does Cosmos actually build this interconnected web? Well, it all comes down to this incredibly powerful set of tools that developers can use. The whole thing is called the Interchain Stock. What's so cool here is how these four pieces work together. I mean, you can honestly think of it like a Lego set for building blockchains. You've got Comet BFT, that's your super secure baseplate. Then the SDK gives you all the different bricks and pieces you need. IBC is like the universal connector that lets you snap different Lego creations together. And CosmoWasm lets you add custom programmable functions to your build. It's brilliant. So let's start with the foundation, Comet BFT. This is the consensus engine. It's the part that makes sure everyone on the network agrees on what's what. But here's the genius part. It completely separates that messy, complex consensus work from the application itself. This makes something called instant finality possible, which is just absolutely crucial if you want chains to communicate securely. Then you have the Cosmos SDK. This has been a total game changer for developers. People call it the NPM for blockchains because it's essentially a library of pre-built modules for things you'll always need, like staking, governance, tokens, you name it. This makes building a new, sovereign blockchain so much easier. We're talking about taking a process that used to take years and shrinking it down to just a matter of weeks. And now we get to the very heart of the vision, the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol, IBC for short. This is the magic that ties everything together. You see, unlike most bridges out there that rely on some risky, centralized party, IBC is completely trustless. It's like the secure, universal superglue connecting every single chain into one massive, interoperable network. But, you know, all this powerful technology doesn't run on hopes and dreams. It needs an economic engine. And that brings us to the ADAM token, the heart of the network. This is where we run into a really interesting fundamental tension in the whole design of Cosmos. Make no mistake, the ATOM token is crucial. It's what's used to secure the main network, the Cosmos Hub, through staking. It gives you the right to vote on how the network evolves. And with a feature called Interchain Security, it can even be used to secure brand new chains. But its economic model, how it's designed to work, presents a really big challenge. See, to keep the network secure, you have to pay the people running it, the validators. And Cosmos does this by creating new ATM tokens out of thin air. How many? Well, about 10% more get created every single year, and they're paid out as staking rewards. And that specific number, that 10%, creates a huge dilemma. And here is that dilemma in a nutshell. The very thing that keeps the network safe and secure, paying validators with newly minted ATOM, also creates a constant increase in supply. And basic economics tells you if you don't have enough new demand or a way to capture value from the ecosystem, that constant new supply is going to put downward pressure on the token's price. Now, this whole idea ties directly into another one of Cosmos's killer features, the ability for anyone to build their own custom app chain. This is where the grand, beautiful vision runs smack into some harsh, real-world problems. On paper, in theory, building your own dedicated chain is just flat out superior. You get incredible performance because you're not competing for space. You get total sovereignty. You control the rules, you control the upgrades, and you have the flexibility to customize absolutely everything for your specific needs. It sounds perfect. But then you hit reality. And in reality, that promise comes with some major trade-offs. Building and maintaining your own chain is really expensive. It shatters liquidity, spreading money thinly across dozens of disconnected chains. And for the average person, the user experience can be a nightmare, forcing you to do these complicated multi-step transfers just to interact with different apps. And hey, this isn't just a theory. You can see it in the data. Because of all these challenges, key initiatives like interchain security have really struggled to get traction. And when you put Cosmos side by side with its peers, core metrics like total value locked and the number of active users are just lower. That fragmentation has a very real cost. So the big question is, faced with these challenges, this difficulty accruing value and getting widespread adoption, how is the Cosmos ecosystem adopting? How is it trying to actually realize its original incredibly powerful vision? If you look at the 2025 roadmap, a clear pattern starts to emerge. Yeah, there's a huge focus on just strengthening the core engine with upgrades to the SDK and Comet BFT. But the real story here is this renewed, almost obsessive focus on making the main Cosmos Hub itself more stable, more secure, and more valuable. So this, right here, is the crucial point. It's a major strategic pivot. After years of focusing on enabling all these sovereign, independent chains to do their own thing, there's a growing movement to recenter value around the Cosmos Hub, to make it the true economic and security core for the entire interchain. The new game plan basically has three parts. First, they're going to proactively hunt down high-value apps to bring real activity to the hub. Second, they're planning a complete overhaul of Atom's economics so it can actually capture some of that value. And finally, they're trying to get all the fiercely independent teams in the ecosystem to actually start working together more closely. And really, it all boils down to this. The future of Cosmos is going to depend on a very delicate balancing act. They have to find a way to stick to their powerful, decentralized ideals while also meeting the real-world demands for a simple user experience, deep liquidity, and a clear, sustainable economic model that makes sense. And so that leaves us with the final, absolutely critical question. Can this incredibly ambitious vision for a connected, interoperable future evolve fast enough to actually compete? And more importantly, can it do all of that without sacrificing the very principles of sovereignty and decentralization that make it so special in the first place? The answer is going to define the entire next chapter for the Internet of Blockchains.